Well, Phyllis, it's really great to have you on the show today. Tell everyone where you're physically located.
I live in southwest Kansas, down in the southwest corner. I'm very close to Oklahoma and just a few hours from Colorado. It's a flat land, very few trees, prime farmland. I had one friend here that had rats. He was a guy that ran the cable TV office. He had ordered 2 female rats from a laboratory place in Denver, Colorado. They had shots like a dog, so they wouldn't catch any diseases or anything, and they were the most amazing, huge, beautiful girls. But they were no smarter, if as smart, or more beautiful than my little rescues. I have bought rats I've drove to Denver many times to get rats from a breeder that I pre-ordered. I have quit doing that years ago. I go on Craigslist and on sites, and I save babies. There's already enough. I don't want any more bred up. I will save some that are already here.
Well, Phyllis, tell us about the most special little animal that came into your life most unexpectedly.
The love of my life was Minnie, the white-footed deer mouse. I found her while we were target shooting at the target range, and she was in a shell box filled with pheasant feathers, eyes not open, a bit of fur. I brushed her home, put her in a little vaporized tent for moisture, raised her on the formula of egg yolk and boiled milk and vitamins and a tidbit of sugar and salt. She thrived. The only problem was, I suppose, due to malnutrition or the improper nutrition, she lost all her little fur, and for a little bit she was a tiny naked. She survived that, came out beautiful. She was totally tame. She was my constant companion. She slept with me every night. She went everywhere with me. The dentist, the restaurant, the library, the museum. Baggy sweaters were in style in those days, and it was a wonderful place for many of us to go with me. I'd go to fine restaurants and give her little tidbits on the edge of the table, and she'd pick her little precious head out in those big, beautiful black eyes and look at Mommy and snatch her treats and turn back in my sleep. She didn't like my husband. I was a novel person. I read a lot in bed, and she would, of course, be on my lap or on my legs sleeping with me. And Tim would come to bed, and it really upset her. She'd become agitated, and finally she came to the point that she would dart over and bite him pretty hard. And then she would run back to her mommy and jump up on me and just like, ha-ha, get me now. I showed you. She was absolutely the most bonded pet I've ever had to me. She started having breathing problems in her older age, and I would stroke her and hold her and talk her through them, love her through them. And she would come out of them and be okay. But I came home from work one day and she'd passed. And that was the only regret I had with her was I did not get to be with her on that last journey. I cried so hard, my face was sore the next day. Her little remains I have in a little glass container that will be cremated with me, and she'll be buried with me. You'll never know the love you can have from a small, tiny animal. They are completely amazing.
Well, Minnie was one of several little animals that left a lasting impression on your heart and life. Another one of them was named Mouse. Tell us about her and how special she was.
She lived on my desk under the shelf in a little nest she acquired there, and she was rather a little, what would you call her? She collected things. Anything bright or shiny she would have in her little nest. Well, I was playing on the bed with her one evening, and the drawer on my bedstand was ajar. She decided to explore, loved it, proceeded to make her a nice nest in there, and I just looked at me with that pretty face. I didn't have the heart to take her out. So I gave her the drawer. She had food and water in there, and a nice bed, and she was the love of my life. She was another love of my life. I mean, she was everywhere I was. If I was doing dishes or cooking, she would be. I have pictures of her at my feet, or on my shoulder. I lost her. My son bought me, she was an agouti. I lost her, and my son bought me a replacement Minnie, another agouti. She was just like the first one. She was amazing. I mean, she would sleep on the desk, wherever I was, she was. Come and stand up on my leg, want to be picked up. I'll never forget her. And I've had boys with the same little traits. For some reason, I felt at times that they're still doing it to me. I'll be sitting at my computer, and my precious ones would be on their little cage under my desk. And they would come and sometimes sit on my feet or stand up and put their little hands on my legs and ask Mommy to hold them. And I swear sometimes I still feel those little paws on my legs. They're always with me. There's nothing like a rat. No dog or cat could ever compare to the bond.
Well, you know, Phyllis, many rat parents report that they receive signs from their departed loved rats. Tell us about the special signs that you received in your life.
Oh, yes. I have had experiences. After I buried one of my rats under the lilac bush by my back door, I came in my back door, and I came and sat down at the table in the dining room, and all of a sudden, the picture on my bookstand of my ratty just fell off the shelf. There was no wind, no anything. It just fell off. She told me she didn't want to be buried, so I went out and dug her up. She rests in there in a ceramic heart. And that's just I knew that she was telling me that, and that was that. I did what she wanted. I had cancer, was going, an 8-pound ovarian tumor, was going to have my chemo after having the tumor removed, and my friend found a mama rat in a dumpster on a cold winter day. She brought her to me. She was pregnant. I told my husband, she will have babies on my birthday, January the 7th. She did. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I awoke to eepers, 15 of them. I kept them all. They all survived and lived to be old-aged. I told him it was a sign from God. He sent me those babies to take care of. It was a sign I was going to live because my doctors all told me that was a miracle. Nobody lived from an 8-pound ovarian tumor. I did. Ratties. They send messages. They bring messages. They connected to our soul.
Well, Phyllis, without doubt, the most difficult part of loving a special rat is the day that we lose them. They have such a limited lifespan, and we've all learned to cope with their death in our own way. How have you dealt with the loss of your rat children?
Well, I'll be truthful. I cry. I physically cry. Whatever endorphins this releases helps me. And I, in my memory, relive what they were, and I always manage to see traits in my new rats that I sincerely believe are sent to them by my babies in heaven. Just like the standing up on the leg thing. I had Blaze, my little boy, and he did it so uniquely and so perfectly, just exactly like his uncle Bennett had done. I know Bennett told him, it'll win her over. Go stand up on her leg and beg to be picked up. He did. That's just one of many. Just like many, just like my two agoutis. They were so much alike, it was almost scary. They were just like identical. Looks, personality. It's like I had her a second time. God gave her back to me one more time. They're a blessing. They're little angels that are sent us messages to learn to live and live for the day and to love and to not judge and to be harsh. They're soft, wonderful little animals.
And that wraps up part 1 of a 2-part interview with Phyllis Pickett, also known as the Kansas Rat Lady. Be sure to tune in to part 2. This is Raleigh Adams.